Introduction to Business, 2nd edition, an OpenStax textbook. Read along with the full text at openstax.org. This audiobook was produced by Open Audio. Listen for free on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or on our website at openaudio.us.
Chapter 2: Making Ethical Decisions and Managing a Socially Responsible Business. Introduction.
Learning outcomes. After reading this chapter, you should be able to answer these questions. 1. What philosophies and concepts shape personal ethical standards? 2. How can organizations encourage ethical business behavior? 3. What is corporate social responsibility? 4. How do businesses meet their social responsibilities to various stakeholders? 5. What are the trends in ethics and corporate social responsibility?
Exploring business careers. Playing with a purpose at Hasbro. Hasbro is a global play and entertainment company that takes corporate social responsibility, CSR, very seriously. Founded nearly a century ago in Rhode Island, Hasbro integrates its CSR efforts throughout the organization, with the goal of helping to make the world a better place for children of all ages. The company has often been recognized in the 100 Best Corporate Citizens rankings, published annually by Corporate Responsibility magazine. Hasbro is no stranger to this achievement. Over the past 5 years, Hasbro has consistently been in the top 5 spots on this prestigious list. And that is no accident. With around 5,000 employees, Hasbro relies heavily on its strategic brand blueprint to guide its efforts in CSR, innovation, philanthropy, and product development. With a business portfolio that includes such well-known brands as Nerf, Play-Doh, Transformers, Monopoly, and the Game of Life, the company focuses its CSR efforts on 4 key areas: product safety, environmental sustainability, human rights, and ethical sourcing, and community. According to the company, product safety is its highest priority. Hasbro uses a 5-step quality assurance process that starts with design and then moves to engineering, manufacturing, and packaging. Another key part of product safety at Hasbro is incorporating continuous feedback from both consumers and retailers and insisting that these high standards and quality processes apply to all third-party factories worldwide that manufacture its products. Hasbro is also committed to finding new ways to reduce its environmental footprint. Over the past decades, the company has reduced energy consumption, cut greenhouse gas emissions, and reduced water consumption and waste production in its production facilities. In addition, Hasbro has totally eliminated the use of wire ties in all of its product packaging, thereby reducing the amount of non-biodegradable products from their brands making it into landfills. Human rights and ethical sourcing remains a key ingredient of Hasbro's CSR success. Treating people fairly is a core company value, as is working diligently to make great strides in diversity and inclusion at all levels of the organization. Company personnel work closely with third-party factories to ensure that the human rights of all workers in the Hasbro global supply chain are recognized and upheld. Philanthropy, corporate giving, and employee volunteering are key components of the Hasbro community. Through its various charitable programs, Hasbro made $15 million in financial contributions and product donations in 2023, which reached nearly 4 million children around the globe. Several years ago, the company started an annual Global Day of Joy as a way of engaging its employees worldwide in community service. Each year, Hasbro employees participate in the company's Global Day of Joy. This effort, centered on service projects, occurs in December, and virtually all employees from around the world participate in the Day of Giving. Hasbro is in the business of storytelling, and its CSR efforts tell the story of an ethical, responsible organization whose mission is to create the world's best play experiences. Its ability to be accountable for its actions and to help make the world a better place, one experience at a time, continues to make it a highly successful company.
Every day, managers and business owners make business decisions based on what they believe to be right and wrong. Through their actions, they demonstrate to their employees what is and is not acceptable behavior, and shape the moral standard of the organization. As you will see in this module, Personal and professional ethics are important cornerstones of an organization and shape its ultimate contributions to society in the form of corporate social responsibility. First, let's consider how individual business ethics are formed.
2.1 Understanding Business Ethics. Learning Objective. What philosophies and concepts shape personal ethical standards?
Ethics is a set of moral standards for judging whether something is right or wrong. The first step in understanding business ethics is learning to recognize an ethical issue. An ethical issue is a situation where someone must choose between a set of actions that may be ethical or unethical. For example, Martin Shkreli, former CEO of Turing Pharmaceuticals, raised the price of a critical, life-saving drug by 4,000%, defending the price increase as a great business decision. This act resulted in Shkreli being banned from participating in the industry for life. Few people would call that ethical behavior. But consider the actions of the stranded, hungry people in New Orleans, who lost everything in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. They broke into flooded stores, taking food and bottled water without paying for them. Was this unethical behavior? Or what about the small Texas plastics manufacturer that employed over 100 people and specialized in the Latin American market? The president was distraught because he knew the firm would be bankrupt by the end of the year if it didn't receive more contracts. He knew that he was losing business because he refused to pay bribes. Bribes were part of the culture in his major markets. Closing the firm would put many people out of work. Should he start paying bribes in order to stay in business? Would this be unethical? Let's look at the next section to obtain some guidance on recognizing unethical situations. Recognizing unethical business activities. Researchers from Brigham Young University tell us that all unethical business activities will fall into one of the following categories. 1. Taking things that don't belong to you. The unauthorized use of someone else's property, or taking property under false pretenses, is taking something that does not belong to you. Even the smallest offense, such as using the printer at your office for personal use or exaggerating your travel expenses, belongs in this category of ethical violations. 2. Saying things you know are not true. Often, when trying for a promotion and advancement, fellow employees discredit their coworkers. Falsely assigning blame or inaccurately reporting conversations is lying. Although this is the way the game is played around here is a common justification. Saying things that are untrue is an ethical violation. 3. Giving or allowing false impressions. The salesperson who permits a potential customer to believe that cardboard boxes will hold the customer's tomatoes for long-distance shipping when the salesperson knows the boxes are not strong enough has given a false impression. A car dealer who fails to disclose that a car has been in an accident is misleading potential customers. 4. Buying influence or engaging in a conflict of interest. A conflict of interest occurs when the official responsibilities of an employee or government official are influenced by the potential for personal gain. Suppose a company awards a construction contract to a firm owned by the parent of the state attorney general, while the state attorney general's office is investigating that company. If this construction award has the potential to shape the outcome of the investigation, a conflict of interest has occurred. 5. Hiding or divulging information. Failing to disclose the results of medical studies that indicate your firm's new drug has significant side effects is the ethical violation of hiding information that the product could be harmful to purchasers. Taking your firm's product development or trade secrets to a new place of employment constitutes the ethical violation of divulging proprietary information. 6. Taking unfair advantage. Many current consumer protection laws were passed because so many businesses took unfair advantage of people who were not educated or were unable to discern the nuances of complex contracts. Credit disclosure requirements, truth in lending provisions, and new regulations on auto leasing all resulted because businesses misled consumers who could not easily follow the jargon of long, complex agreements. 7. Committing improper personal behavior. Although the ethical aspects of an employee's right to privacy are still debated, it has become increasingly clear that personal conduct outside the job can influence performance and company reputation. Thus, a company driver must abstain from substance abuse because of safety issues. Even the traditional company holiday party and summer picnic have come under scrutiny due to the possibility that employees at and following these events might harm others through alcohol-related accidents. 8. Abusing power and mistreating individuals. Suppose a manager sexually harasses an employee or subjects employees to humiliating corrections or reprimands. In the presence of customers, in some cases, laws protect employees. Many situations, however, are simply interpersonal abuse that constitutes an ethical violation. 9. Permitting organizational abuse. Many U.S. firms with operations overseas, such as Apple, Pandora, and Pfizer, have faced issues of organizational abuse. The unfair treatment of workers in international operations appears in the form of child labor, unfairly low wages, and excessive work hours. Although a business cannot change the culture of another country, it can perpetuate or stop abuse through its operations there. 10. Violating rules. Many organizations use rules and processes to maintain internal controls or respect the authority of managers. Although these rules may seem burdensome to employees trying to serve customers, a violation may be considered an unethical act. 11. Condoning unethical actions. What if you witnessed a fellow employee embezzling company funds by forging their signature on a check? Would you report the violation? Overlooking others' unethical behavior is itself unethical. After recognizing that a situation is unethical, the next question is, what do you do? The action that a person takes is partially based upon his or her ethical philosophy. The environment in which we live and work also plays a role in our behavior. This section describes personal philosophies and legal factors that influence the choices we make when confronting an ethical dilemma. Justice. The question of fairness. Another factor influencing individual business ethics is justice, or what is fair according to prevailing standards of society. We all expect life to be reasonably fair. You expect your exams to be fair, the grading to be fair, and your wages to be fair, based on the type of work being done. Today, we take justice to mean an equitable distribution of the burdens and rewards that society has to offer. The distributive process varies from society to society. Those in a democratic society believe in the equal pay for equal work doctrine, in which individuals are rewarded based on the value the free market places on their services. Because the market places different values on different occupations, the rewards, such as wages, are not necessarily equal. Nevertheless, many regard the rewards as just. A politician who argued that a supermarket clerk should receive the same pay as a physician, for example, would not receive many votes. At the other extreme, communist theorists have argued that justice would be served by a society in which burdens and rewards were distributed to individuals according to their abilities and their needs, respectively. Utilitarianism. Seeking the best for the majority. One of the philosophies that may influence choices between right and wrong is utilitarianism, which focuses on the consequences of an action taken by a person or organization. The notion that people should act so as to generate the greatest good for the greatest number is derived from utilitarianism. When an action affects the majority adversely, it is morally wrong. One problem with this philosophy is that it is nearly impossible to accurately determine how a decision will affect a large number of people. Another problem is that utilitarianism always involves both winners and losers. If sales are slowing and a manager decides to fire 5 people rather than putting everyone on a 30-hour work week, the people who keep their full-time jobs are winners, but the other 5 are losers. A final criticism of utilitarianism is that some costs, although small relative to the potential good, are so negative that some segments of society find them unacceptable. What if scientists deliberately killed animals by breaking their backs to conduct spinal cord research that someday could lead to a cure for spinal cord injuries? To a number of people, the costs of killing these animals are simply too horrible for this type of research to occur. Following our obligations and duties. The philosophy that says people should meet their obligations and duties when analyzing an ethical dilemma is called deontology. This means that a person will follow his or her obligations to another individual or society, because upholding one's duty is what is considered ethically correct. For instance, people who follow this philosophy will always keep their promises to a friend and will follow the law. They will produce very consistent decisions because they will be based on the individual's set duties. Note that this theory is not necessarily concerned with the welfare of others. Say, for example, a technician for Spectrum Internet has decided that it's their ethical duty, and is very practical, to always be on time to meetings with homeowners. Today, they are running late. How are they supposed to drive? Is the technician supposed to speed, breaking their duty to society to uphold the law? Or are they supposed to arrive at the client's home late, breaking their duty to be on time? This scenario of conflicting obligations does not lead us to a clear, ethically correct resolution, nor does it protect the welfare of others from the technician's decision. Individual rights. In our society, individuals and groups have certain rights that exist under certain conditions, regardless of any external circumstances. These rights serve as guides when making individual ethical decisions. The term human rights implies that certain rights, to life, to freedom, to the pursuit of happiness, are bestowed at birth and cannot be arbitrarily taken away. Denying the rights of an individual or group is considered to be unethical and illegal in most, though not all, parts of the world. Certain rights are guaranteed by the government and its laws, and these are considered legal rights. The U.S. Constitution and its amendments, as well as state and federal statutes, define the rights of U.S. citizens. Those rights can be disregarded only in extreme circumstances, such as during wartime. Legal rights include the freedom of religion, speech and assembly, protection from improper arrest and searches and seizures, and proper access to counsel, confrontation of witnesses, and cross-examination in criminal prosecutions. Also held to be fundamental is the right to privacy in many matters. Legal rights are to be applied without regard to race, color, creed, sex, or ability.
Concept check. 1. How are individual business ethics formed? 2. What is utilitarianism? 3. How can you recognize unethical activities?
Two 2.2 How organizations influence ethical conduct. Learning objective. How can organizations encourage ethical business behavior?
People choose between right and wrong based on their personal code of ethics. They are also influenced by the ethical environment created by their employers. Consider the following headlines. Investment advisor Bernard Madoff sentenced to 150 years in prison for swindling thousands of clients out of more than $65 billion. He passed away in prison in 2021. Volkswagen CEO Martin Winterkorn resigned after the company was ordered to pay over $30 billion for deceptive software designed to mislead consumers about the environmental impact of their vehicles. Renaud Laplanche, the founder of Lending Club, is fired because of misrepresentation of data to investors and deceptive loan practices to consumers. Wells Fargo CEO John Stumpf resigned after company employees opened more than 2 million fake accounts to meet aggressive sales targets. As these actual stories illustrate, poor business ethics can create a very negative image for a company, can be expensive for the firm and/or the executives involved, and can result in bankruptcy and jail time for the offenders. Organizations can reduce the potential for these types of liability claims by educating their employees about ethical standards, by leading through example, and through various informal and formal programs. Leading by example. Employees often follow the examples set by their managers. That is, leaders and managers establish patterns of behavior that determine what's acceptable and what's not within the organization. Ben Cohen, co-founder of Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream, instituted a policy that no one could earn a salary more than 7 times that of the lowest paid employee. He wanted upper management to work toward increasing pay for all employees in order to retain a higher salary themselves. This meant that the CEO of Ben & Jerry's was making around $150,000 at the time, while executives at other companies might be earning millions. Cohen's actions helped shape the ethical values of Ben & Jerry's. Although acquired by Unilever in 2021, Ben & Jerry's still retains the reputation of having ethical practices and leadership. Offering ethics training programs. In addition to providing a system to resolve ethical dilemmas, organizations also provide formal training to develop an awareness of questionable business activities and practice appropriate responses. Many companies have some type of ethics training program. The ones that are most effective, like those created by PepsiCo, Hershey, and Procter & Gamble, begin with techniques for solving ethical dilemmas such as those discussed earlier. Next, employees are presented with a series of situations and asked to come up with the best ethical solution. One of these ethical dilemmas will be discussed next. According to a survey by the Ethics Resource Center, most U.S. companies provide some sort of ethics training for employees, with nearly 80% providing this training targeting new managers.
An ethical dilemma used for employee training. Robin was a middle manager of a large manufacturer of lighting fixtures in Newark, New Jersey. Robin had moved up the company ladder rather quickly and seemed destined for upper management in a few years. Robin's boss, Taylor, had been applying pressure about the semi-annual reviews concerning Misha, one of Robin's employees. Taylor, it seemed, would not accept any negative comments on Misha's evaluation forms. Robin had found out that a previous manager who had given Misha a bad evaluation was no longer with the company. As Robin reviewed Misha's performance for the forthcoming evaluation period, there were many areas of subpar performance. Moreover, a major client had called recently, complaining that Misha had filled a large order improperly and then had been rude to the client when they called to complain. Discussion questions. What ethical issues does the situation raise? What courses of action could Robin take? Describe the ethics of each course. Should Robin confront Taylor, Taylor's boss? What would you do in this situation? What are the ethical implications?
Establishing a formal code of ethics. Most large companies and thousands of smaller ones have created and distributed codes of ethics. In general, a code of ethics provides employees with the knowledge of what their firm expects in terms of their responsibilities and behavior toward fellow employees, customers, and suppliers. Some ethical codes offer a lengthy and detailed set of guidelines for employees. Others are not really codes at all, but rather summary statements of goals, policies, and priorities. Some companies have their codes framed and hung on office walls, included as a key component of employee handbooks, or posted on their corporate websites. Do codes of ethics make employees behave in a more ethical manner? Some people believe that they do. Others think that they are little more than public relations gimmicks. If senior management abides by the code of ethics and regularly emphasizes the code to employees, then it will likely have a positive influence on behavior. The 100 Best Corporate Citizens, as ranked by 3BL's annual report, are selected based on 219 factors across 7 categories, including climate change, employees, environment, governance, human rights, stakeholders and society, and overall performance. The top corporate citizens in 2025 were 1. HP Incorporated, 2. Ingersoll Rand, 3. Owens Corning, 4. Dell Technologies, 5. Graphic Packaging Holding Company, 6. The Hershey Company, 7. Intel Corporation, 8. Jones Lang LaSalle, JLL, 9. Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, HPE, 10. CBRE Group.
Customer satisfaction and quality. Campbell's adds CSR to its recipe. The Campbell's Soup Company is no longer just about traditional cans of processed soup. Under the guidance of its management team, particularly its former CEO Denise Morrison, Morrison retired from Campbell's in May of 2018. Campbell's has undergone a transformation that includes a strong emphasis on organics and fresh food, and a large serving of corporate citizenship. Once recognized in the Best Corporate Citizens rankings, Campbell's is working to make sustainability and transparency part of its business DNA. And this culture shift has had an important influence on the company's business strategies. Morrison, who took over as CEO in 2011, is a firm believer in the company's central vision: real food that matters for life's moments. We can make a profit and make a difference, and we are doing both through our business in a way that's authentic, that's transparent, and that truly matters, she explains. Under Morrison's watch, the company acquired several fresh food and organic companies, including Bolthouse Farms, one of the largest suppliers of fresh carrots in the United States, and Pacific Foods of Oregon, which produces organic soups. Tracking the strong change in consumer preference for healthier food, Campbell's continues to be on the lookout for strategic acquisitions that align with this goal, to help solidify the company's reputation for fresh ingredients with millennials and their families. Inherent in the company's reinvention is the strong emphasis on corporate citizenship. Doing good and giving back seem to be top priorities for Campbell's. In addition to acquiring sustainable and fresh food companies, Campbell's has also made a conscious decision to support the communities where their employees live and work. For example, the company launched a Healthy Communities initiative in Camden, New Jersey, where Campbell's is headquartered, an urban city that has seen its share of economic and social challenges in the past. In partnership with several local organizations, this initiative has helped fund community gardens, food pantries, nutrition education, and cooking classes that help build healthy communities. The Camden experience has been so successful that the company has expanded the program to other cities where it operates, including Detroit, Michigan, and Norwalk, Connecticut. The company's ongoing commitment to fresh food, community involvement, and corporate social responsibility has helped change the narrative when it comes to being a sustainable and ethical organization. Questions for discussion. 1. How does Campbell Soup Company's recent business acquisitions help support its CSR strategies? 2. Provide examples of how the company's transformation from a processed food giant to a purveyor of fresh ingredients can help attract a new group of customers.
Making the right decision. In many situations, there may be no simple right or wrong answers. Yet there are several questions you can ask yourself and a couple of self-tests you can do to help you make the right ethical decision. First, ask yourself, are there any legal restrictions or violations that will result from the action? If so, take a different course of action. If not, ask yourself, does it violate my company's code of ethics? If so, again, find a different path to follow. Third, ask, does this meet the guidelines of my own ethical philosophy? If the answer is yes, then your decision must still pass two important tests. The feelings test. You must now ask, how does it make me feel? This enables you to examine your comfort level with a particular decision. Many people find that, after reaching a decision on an issue, they still experience discomfort that may disrupt sleep or create unsettling feelings. Those feelings of conscience can serve as a future guide in resolving ethical dilemmas. The headline, or social media test. The final test involves the top-of-page news headline or social media posts. The question to be asked is how an objective reporter would describe your decision in a front-page newspaper story, an online media site, or a social media platform such as X or Facebook. Some managers rephrase the test for their employees. How will the headline read if I make this decision? Or, what will be the reaction of my social media followers? This test is helpful in spotting and resolving potential conflicts of interest.
Concept check. 1. What is the role of top management in organizational ethics? 2. What is a code of ethics?
2.3. Managing a socially responsible business. Learning objective. What is corporate social responsibility?
Acting in an ethical manner is one of the 4 components of the Pyramid of Corporate Social Responsibility, CSR, which is the concern of businesses for the welfare of society as a whole. It consists of obligations beyond those required by law or union contract. This definition makes two important points. First, CSR is voluntary. Beneficial action required by law, such as cleaning up factories that are polluting air and water, is not voluntary. Second, the obligations of corporate social responsibility are broad. They extend beyond investors in the company to include workers, suppliers, consumers, communities, and society at large. Exhibit 2.4 portrays economic responsibility as the foundation for the other three responsibilities. At the same time that a business pursues profits, economic responsibility, it is expected to obey the law, legal responsibility, to do what is right, just, and fair, ethical responsibility, and to be a good corporate citizen, philanthropic responsibility. These four components are distinct, but together constitute the whole. Still, if the company doesn't make a profit, then the other three responsibilities won't matter. Many companies continue to work hard to make the world a better place to live. Data suggest that Fortune 500 companies spend approximately $20 billion annually on CSR activities. Consider the following examples. Starbucks has donated more than 100 million meals to local communities via its food share program and alliance with Feeding America, with 100% of their over 10,000 company-owned stores participating. Salesforce encourages its employees to volunteer in community activities and pays them for doing so up to 56 paid hours every year. Salesforce also has a matching grant program to donate to the employee's nonprofit of choice. Employees who work for Deloitte, a global audit, consulting, and financial services organization, can get paid for up to 5 hours of volunteer work per week. Deloitte's professionals volunteer nearly 160,000 hours each year to their communities.
Exhibit 2.4, The Pyramid of Corporate Social Responsibility. The image graphic displays a pyramid structure with 4 levels. The base level represents economic responsibilities. Because a corporation must be profitable to survive, its economic responsibilities form the base of the pyramid. The second level represents legal responsibilities. Corporations must, of course, follow the law. The second level of the pyramid recognizes that legal considerations are also necessary for a corporation's success. The third level represents ethical responsibilities. Resting on the foundation set by economic and legal responsibilities are ethical responsibilities. A corporation can turn its attention to ethical matters only after ensuring its economic and legal position. Finally, the top layer represents philanthropic responsibilities. The highest level of the pyramid, philanthropic responsibilities can be considered only after economic, legal, and ethical responsibilities.
Understanding social responsibility. Peter Drucker, the late globally respected management expert, said that we should look first at what an organization does to society, and second, at what it can do for society. This idea suggests that social responsibility has two basic dimensions: legality and responsibility. Illegal and irresponsible behavior. The idea of corporate social responsibility is so widespread today that it is hard to conceive of a company continually acting in illegal and irresponsible ways. Nevertheless, such actions do sometimes occur, which can create financial ruin for organizations, extreme financial hardships for many former employees, and general struggles for the communities in which they operate. Unfortunately, top executives still walk away with millions. Some, however, will ultimately pay large fines and spend time in prison for their actions. Federal, state, and local laws determine whether an activity is legal or not. The laws that regulate business are discussed later in this module. Irresponsible but legal behavior. For example, the Minnesota-based company MyPillow was fined $1 million by the state of California for making unsubstantiated marketing claims about the effectiveness of the pillow in alleviating certain medical conditions. The company insisted that the claims were made by customers of the product as testimonials. These testimonials were on the company website, but were later removed as a result of the controversy. The company has also faced several additional lawsuits, and the Better Business Bureau lowered its rating and removed its accreditation as a result of consumer complaints.
Catching the entrepreneurial spirit. Badger Company founder walks the walk. As a carpenter, Bill White was always looking for a solution to his dry, cracked hands, especially in the harsh New Hampshire winters. After trying many commercial lotions that didn't really work, White experimented with olive oil and beeswax to come up with a soothing balm to help heal rough hands. Mixing up the concoction at home, White came up with a product that seemed to work and was made from natural ingredients. Originally called Bear Paw, the lotion became known as Badger Balm after a friend found a competing product already named Bear Paw. White set up a production line at home to fill the tins. Soon he was pounding the pavement in the town of Gilsum, trying to sell the new product to hardware stores, lumber yards, and health food stores. Fast forward from his early days of experimentation, and White, affectionately known as the Head Badger, runs W.S. Badger Company with the same goals and passions he started with back in the mid-1990s. Badger emphasizes certified organic botanicals and beeswax across its products, and uses mineral actives, such as non-nano zinc oxide, in sunscreens. The company sources ingredients worldwide, including organic extra virgin olive oil from Spain, organic rose essential oil from Bulgaria, and bergamot oil from southern Italy. Badger's homey culture is no accident. In fact, in the early days, White made soup every Friday for the small staff. Badger is led by co-CEOs Rebecca Hamilton and Emily Schwerin White. Co-founder Katie Schwerin serves as COO, and founder Bill White remains involved. All embrace the ethical and social principles of this family business that have made the company a success. To reinforce the commitment of being socially responsible and demonstrating transparency, W.S. Badger Company became a Certified Benefit Corporation, or B Corp for short. This certification requires companies to meet rigorous standards for transparency, accountability, and social and environmental performance. Benefit corporations are discussed in more detail later in this module. Becoming a B Corp has helped the company organize how it operates. For example, pay for the highest paid full-time employee is capped at 5 times that of the lowest paid, which is more than double New Hampshire's minimum wage. A portion of company profits flows to employees via profit sharing, and all employees participate in a bonus plan. And new parents are encouraged to bring their babies to work, a program that has helped foster a new style of teamwork for the entire organization, as well as increase employee morale. In addition, Badger donates 10% of its pre-tax profits annually to nonprofits focused on children's health and welfare, environmental education, and local community needs. The company also supports employee giving and volunteerism through internal programs. Historically, Badger has matched employee donations and made additional birthday-directed gifts to charities. Badger staff, about 80 to 90 employees, enjoy a living wage, great benefits, and a socially responsible work environment thanks to a visionary who found an eco-friendly way to soothe his rough hands and created an ethical business as part of his journey. Questions for discussion. 1. How does Badger's approach to social responsibility help attract and retain employees? 2. Does the company's certification as a benefit corporation provide Badger with a competitive advantage? Explain your reasoning.
Legal and responsible behavior. The vast majority of business activities fall into the category of behavior that is both legal and responsible. Most companies act legally, and most try to be socially responsible. Research shows nearly 3/4 of consumers prefer purchasing from companies that have excellent ethical track records and community involvement. Outdoor specialty retailer REI, for example, established partnerships with other entities to provide sustainable solar energy initiatives to low-income households. A member cooperative, the company invested nearly $9 million in its 300 nonprofit partners in 2024.
Concept check. 1. What are the 4 components of social responsibility? 2. Give an example of legal but irresponsible behavior.
2.4. Responsibilities to stakeholders. Learning objective. How do businesses meet their social responsibilities to various stakeholders?
What makes a company be admired or perceived as socially responsible? Such a company meets its obligations to its stakeholders. Stakeholders are the individuals or groups to whom a business has a responsibility. The stakeholders of a business are its employees, its customers, the general public, and its investors. Responsibility to employees. An organization's first responsibility is to provide a job to employees. Keeping people employed and letting them have time to enjoy the fruits of their labor is the finest thing business can do for society. Beyond this fundamental responsibility, employers must provide a clean, safe working environment that is free from all forms of discrimination. Companies should also strive to provide job security whenever possible. Enlightened firms are also empowering employees to make decisions on their own and suggest solutions to company problems. Empowerment contributes to an employee's self-worth, which in turn increases productivity and reduces absenteeism. Each year, in collaboration with Great Place to Work, Fortune conducts an extensive employee survey of the best places to work in the United States. For 2025, the top companies included Hilton, Synchrony, Cisco, American Express, Wegmans Food Markets, and Marriott International. Some companies offer unusual benefits to their employees. For example, Cisco offers all employees 4 company-wide paid day-for-me mental health well-being days per year when the whole company pauses work. Additionally, Cisco subsidizes the first 4 hours of backup child elder care through a partnership with Care.com. Responsibility to customers. To be successful in today's business environment, a company must satisfy its customers. A firm must deliver what it promises, as well as be honest and forthright in everyday interactions with customers, suppliers, and others. Recent research suggests that many consumers, particularly millennials, prefer to do business with companies and brands that communicate socially responsible messages, utilize sustainable manufacturing processes, and practice ethical business standards. Responsibility to society. A business must also be responsible to society. A business provides a community with jobs, goods, and services. It also pays taxes that go to support schools, hospitals, and better roads. Some companies have taken an additional step to demonstrate their commitment to stakeholders and society as a whole by becoming certified benefit corporations, or B Corp for short, verified by B Lab, a global nonprofit organization. B Corp meet the highest standards of social and environmental performance, public transparency, and legal accountability, and strive to use the power of business to solve social and environmental problems via an impact assessment that rates each company on a possible score of 200 points. To become certified as a benefit corporation, companies need to reach a score of at least 80 and must be recertified every 2 years. There are more than 9,000 companies worldwide that have been certified as B Corp, including The Body Shop, Kickstarter, Ben & Jerry's, Warby Parker, Tom's, Patagonia, Coursera, and Moodle. Environmental protection. Business is also responsible for protecting and improving the world's fragile environment. Deforestation is a worldwide issue to be addressed. Estimates indicate that 10 million hectares of the world's forests are cut down annually. There are nearly 10,000 critically endangered species. A continent-sized hole is opening up in the Earth's protective ozone shield. Each year, nearly 3,000 pounds of trash per person is discarded, much going into the already nearly full landfills. To slow the erosion of the world's natural resources, many companies have become more environmentally responsible. For example, Toyota now uses renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, geothermal, and water power for electricity to run its facilities. Toyota's Port of Long Beach facility was converted using state-of-the-art, sustainable technology to emit nearly no pollutants. The vehicle processing plant is entirely powered with renewable energy that is created on site, helping the auto giant move closer to its goal of eliminating carbon emissions in all of its operations.
Ethics and practice. This fish story has a tasty ending. Duncan Berry, co-founder of Fish People Corporation, has always been an environmentalist at heart. Brought up on the Oregon coast, he was a sea captain at an early age, spending nearly 2 decades on the ocean before going on to become a successful entrepreneur in the organic cotton industry. After selling the textile business at the age of 50, he retired back to the Oregon coast to work on a state initiative to preserve marine habitats. He quickly discovered that the state's commercial fishing industry had gone into major disrepair since his seafaring adventure years earlier. Barry learned the majority of seafood consumed in the United States was being imported from other countries, and more than 90% of U.S. seafood was being exported. In addition, great harm was being done to the ocean because it was being overfished. Although several groups were already working to improve the commercial fishing industry, he observed that one key group was not part of the discussion: consumers. Barry decided a key component of change had to be involving consumers in the process. He spent more than a year meeting with everyone involved in the Oregon fishing industry, from fishermen to processors, distributors, truck drivers, chefs, and consumers, to gain perspective on why the industry was failing. His aha moment occurred when he realized the majority of fish is consumed in restaurants, because consumers think preparing fish at home is too difficult and time-consuming. That's when he co-founded Fish People Seafood. Started in 2012, Fish People has a mission of changing the way people think about seafood by being transparent about where the seafood comes from, how it is processed, and how it is handled. Barry believes the company's transparency helps consumers understand how the process translates into sustainable food that tastes good and is good for you. The company sells fresh and frozen seafood offerings. Fish People built its brand on package codes that let consumers trace catch area, vessel, and even the people doing the catching via the website through its Trace Your Fish feature. Consumers can discover everything about the seafood's origin, down to the fisherman who caught it. Fish People also operates a processing plant in Toledo, Oregon, where workers are paid a livable wage and receive health insurance, benefits typically unheard of in the fishing industry. Fish People built national retail distribution in the late 2010s, including Whole Foods, and today focuses on traceable fresh and frozen seafood through regional retail and its coastal seafood market in Garibaldi, Oregon. In 2017, Fish People merged with Ilwaco Landing Fishermen, operators of landings in Ilwaco, Washington, and Garibaldi, Oregon, to integrate supply, expand species, and strengthen traceability and job stability for local fleets. Questions for discussion. 1. How does Fish People's transparency contribute to the company's success? 2. What responsibility, if any, does Fish People have to the local fishing industry?
Corporate philanthropy. Companies also display their social responsibility through corporate philanthropy. Corporate philanthropy includes cash contributions, donations of equipment and products, and support for the volunteer efforts of company employees. Statistics suggest U.S. corporate philanthropy exceeds more than $44 billion annually. American Express is a major supporter of the American Red Cross. The organization relies almost entirely on charitable gifts to carry out its programs and services, which include disaster relief, armed forces emergency relief, blood and tissue services, and health and safety services. The funds provided by American Express have enabled the Red Cross to deliver humanitarian relief to victims of numerous disasters around the world. When Hurricane Katrina hit the Gulf Coast, Bayer sent 45,000 diabetes blood glucose monitors to the relief effort. Within weeks of the disaster, Abbott, Alcoa, Dell, Disney, Intel, UPS, Walgreens, Walmart, and others contributed more than $550 million for disaster relief. Responsibilities to investors. Companies' relationships with investors also entail social responsibility. Although a company's economic responsibility to make a profit might seem to be its main obligation to its shareholders, some investors increasingly are putting more emphasis on other aspects of social responsibility. Some investors are limiting their investments to securities, for example, stocks and bonds, that coincide with their beliefs about ethical and social responsibility. This is called social investing. For example, a social investment fund might eliminate from consideration the securities of all companies that make tobacco products or liquor, manufacture weapons, or have a history of being environmentally irresponsible. Not all social investment strategies are alike. Some ethical mutual funds will not invest in government securities because they help to fund the military. Others freely buy government securities, with managers noting that federal funds also support the arts and pay for AIDS research. In 2022, assets invested using socially responsible strategies total more than $8 trillion, perhaps partly as the result of the Great Recession in the early 2000s. Over the last several years, companies have tried to meet responsibilities to their investors as well as to their other stakeholders. Recent research suggests that now more than ever, CEOs are being held to higher standards by boards of directors, investors, governments, media, and even employees when it comes to corporate accountability and ethical behavior. Increasingly, CEOs are being forced out due to issues beyond company financial troubles, such as ethical lapses in their organizations or personal behavior controversies. Strategies to promote ethical behavior in leadership and at all levels throughout the organization include establishing a culture of integrity with clear ethical guidelines, holding employees accountable for ethical behavior, providing ethical training regularly, aligning decisions with company core values, and addressing ethical issues promptly and directly.
Concept check. 1. How do businesses carry out their social responsibilities to consumers? 2. What is corporate philanthropy? 3. Is a company's only responsibility to its investors to make a profit? Why or why not?
Two point five Trends in Ethics and Corporate Social Responsibility. Learning objective. What are the trends in ethics and corporate social responsibility?
3 important trends related to ethics and corporate social responsibility are strategic changes in corporate philanthropy, a new social contract between employers and employees, and the growth of global ethics and corporate social responsibility. Changes in corporate philanthropy. Historically, corporate philanthropy has typically involved companies seeking out charitable groups and giving them money, or donating company products or services. Today, the focus has shifted to strategic giving, which ties philanthropy and corporate social responsibility efforts closely to a company's mission or goals, and targets donations to the communities where a company does business. Some of the top businesses recognized for their efforts in giving back to the communities in which they operate include technology giant Salesforce, San Antonio's New Star Energy, mortgage lender Veterans United, and software leader Intuit. A social contract between employer and employee. Another trend in social responsibility is the effort by organizations to redefine their relationship with their employees. Many people have viewed social responsibility as a one-way street that focuses on the obligations of business to society, employees, and others. Now, companies recognize that the social contract between employer and employee is an important aspect of the workplace, and that both groups have to be committed to working together in order for the organization to prosper. The social contract can be defined in terms of 4 important aspects: compensation, management, culture, and learning and development. When it comes to compensation, companies today must recognize that most employees do not stay with one organization for decades. Thus, companies need to change their compensation structure to acknowledge the importance of short-term performance, and to update their methods for determining compensation, including benefits and other non-traditional perks, such as increased paid leave and telecommuting options. In the workplace, where employees are likely to change jobs on average nearly every 3 years, managers need to take a more active and engaged approach to supervising employees, and perhaps change the way they think about loyalty, which may be difficult for managers used to supervising the same group of employees for a long period of time. Engaging employees on a regular basis, setting realistic expectations, and identifying specific development paths may help retain key employees. Thanks to today's labor market, some employees feel empowered to demand more from their employer and its overall culture via strategies such as increased flexibility, transparency, and fairness. This increased importance of the employee's role in the company's culture helps workers stay engaged in the mission of the organization and perhaps makes them less likely to look elsewhere for employment. Finally, changing and emerging technologies continue to shift the learning and development component for employees and companies. The critical skills needed by employees over the next several years are likely to evolve. Employers will need to carefully assess the skills needed to meet company goals. Global ethics and social responsibility. When U.S. businesses expand into global markets, they must take their codes of ethics and policies on corporate social responsibility with them. As a citizen of several countries, a multinational corporation has several responsibilities. These include respecting local practices and customs, ensuring that there is harmony between the organization's staff and the host population, providing management leadership, and developing a solid group of local managers who will be a credit to their community. When a multinational firm makes an investment in a foreign country, it should commit to a long-term relationship. That means involving all stakeholders in the host country in decision-making. Finally, a responsible multinational will implement ethical guidelines within the organization in the host country. By fulfilling these responsibilities, the company will foster respect for both local and international laws. Multinational corporations often must balance conflicting interests of stakeholders when making decisions regarding social responsibilities, especially in the area of human rights. Questions around child labor, workplace conditions, and fair wage practices are at the forefront. For example, Gap Inc. publishes the list of its global factories every 6 months in an effort to provide transparency about its suppliers and their efforts to improve working conditions around the world. The company partners with several non-governmental organizations, particularly focused on Central America and Southeast Asia, that are focused on ensuring fair labor practices, enhanced opportunities for underserved populations, and safer working conditions. By soliciting feedback from factory workers making its products, Gap is hoping to improve working conditions and help these factories become leaders in their local communities.
Concept check. 1. Describe strategic giving. 2. What role do employees have in improving their job security? 3. How do multinational corporations demonstrate social responsibility in a foreign country?
Preparing for tomorrow's workplace skills. 1. Many CEOs have sold shares of their company's stock when prices were near their high points. Even though their actions were legal, it soon became apparent that they knew that the stock was significantly overpriced. Was the CEO ethically obligated to tell the public that this was the case, even knowing that doing so could cause the stock price to plummet, thereby hurting someone who bought the stock earlier that day? Systems. 2. Jeffrey Immelt, former chairman and CEO of General Electric, one of the world's most admired companies according to Fortune magazine, says that execution, growth, and great people are required to keep the company on top. Immelt said that these are predictable, but a fourth factor is not. Virtue, and virtue is at the top of his list. Using a search engine, find articles on what GE is doing to enhance its corporate citizenship. Report your findings to the class. Could GE do more? Or are they already doing too much? Why? 3. Boeing Corporation makes business ethics a priority, asking employees to take refresher training every year. It encourages employees to take the ethics challenge with their work groups and to discuss the issues with their peers. You can take your own ethics challenge. Go to the ethics quick test and answer the questions. Summarize your findings. Were there any answers that surprised you? Information. 4. Identify the potential ethical and social responsibility issues confronting the following organizations: General Motors, Adidas, Johnson & Johnson, and Target. Make recommendations on how these issues should be handled. Systems. 5. Team activity. Divide the class into teams. Debate whether the only social responsibility of the employer to the employee is to provide a job. Include a discussion of the employee's responsibility to bring value to the firm. Also, debate the issue of whether the only social responsibility of a firm is to earn a profit. Interpersonal.
Ethics activity. Let's be honest. The Honest Company is a consumer goods business offering baby, personal care, beauty, and home cleaning products made with a clean, conscious ingredient approach. Co-founded by actress Jessica Alba, Honest Company is built on the promise of telling all and doing our best to live up to your expectations. Over the years, the company has received high praise and media buzz about its ethical approach to making products that are not only good for people, but good for the environment. On its website, Honest Company goes to great lengths to share with consumers its guiding principles that products are made without harming people or the planet. Several years ago, however, the company experienced some bad press when the Wall Street Journal reported that two independent lab tests found samples of Honest laundry detergent contained a cleaning agent on the list of chemicals the company pledged to avoid. At first, pushback from company officials was loud and clear. They denied their products were anything but eco-friendly and safe for consumers, and went as far as calling the report false and junk science. The reports about Honest products and their harmful ingredients didn't go away. After the laundry detergent story faded, the company quietly reconfigured the ingredients that went into the detergent as well as other products. But that wasn't the end of the story. Several months later, Honest Company voluntarily recalled organic baby powder that might cause infections and later recalled diaper wipes that appeared discolored. Despite these challenges, the Honest Company is still successful and was rumored to be on the short list of possible acquisitions for global conglomerates such as Kimberly-Clark, Johnson & Johnson, and Unilever. These consumer good giants are snapping up smaller, eco-friendly firms that have blossomed into full-fledged, ethically and environmentally conscious organizations with strong sales and solid reputations among consumers. In 2016, Unilever acquired one of Honest Company's biggest rivals, Seventh Generation Incorporated, leaving Honest Company to, again, rethink its business strategies, including hiring a new CEO. Using a web search tool, locate information about this topic, and then write responses to the following questions. Be sure to support your arguments and cite your sources. Ethical dilemma. Do you think the company's reaction to reports of hazardous ingredients hurt its reputation for honesty and ethical behavior? Do you think the company's missteps caused Unilever to shy away from acquiring the company? Or do you take the stance that Alba's entertainment background played a part in the press going after the company? If you were an advisor to the new CEO, what suggestions would you give for keeping the company on track, especially when it comes to corporate social responsibility?
Critical thinking case. Uber hits a bumpy road. Uber Technologies, Incorporated, is a leading mobility and delivery platform. Formerly the world's most valuable startup, it is now a public company with a market capitalization well above its pre-IPO of an approximately $70 billion private valuation. But that doesn't mean it has been smooth sailing for the ride-hailing company since its start in 2009. Despite disrupting and revolutionizing the transportation industry, in a short period of time, Uber's meteoric rise has caused some shortcuts in organizational structure, corporate culture, and effective HR practices that have left the company with self-inflicted wounds that may take a long time to heal. Uber has experienced several scandals over the past few years, including drivers demanding to be classified as employees, not contractors. A tool called Grayball that allows data collected from the Uber app to identify and avoid enforcement officers trying to catch Uber drivers in cities where the service was illegal. And resignations of top executives, including the company's president and the heads of product development and engineering. But nothing has been quite as damaging as a controversial blog post by a former employee which detailed the inappropriate behavior that seemed to be commonplace in Uber's workplace culture. The allegations of sexual harassment put forth by former Uber engineer Susan Rigetti were explosive. Detailed in a February 2017 blog post, Fowler says she alerted company HR about her manager's inappropriate behavior, even taking screenshots of his suggestive emails. But Fowler was told her boss would not be fired for sexual harassment because he was a high performer for the company. After Fowler's story went public, The company hired former U.S. Attorney Eric Holder to investigate the allegations and other workplace issues. Holder's recommendations, which the Uber board of directors unanimously approved, include changes to senior leadership, enhanced oversight by the company's board, changes to the company's internal financial and audit controls, revisions to the company's cultural values, mandatory leadership training for senior executives and other managers, improvements to the overall HR function and complaint process, and the establishment of an employee diversity advisory board. In addition, as the result of a separate investigation, Uber fired more than 20 other people because of harassment claims. With increasing pressure from the company's board and other investors, CEO Travis Kalanick said he would take a leave of absence while still mourning the unexpected death of his mother in a recent boating accident. However, most board members lost faith that Kalanick would be able to come back after his leave and make things better. At the urging of the board, 2 venture capitalists were dispatched to Chicago, where Kalanick was interviewing COO candidates, to present him with a letter from 5 of Uber's major investors demanding his resignation. After hours of discussion, Kalanick agreed to step down. Critical thinking questions. 1. According to data, less than 45% of Uber's current employees are women. How do you think this situation helped perpetuate a flawed corporate culture? 2. What can Uber do to ensure its competitors are not chipping away at its dominant market share as a result of such bad press? 3. Do you think installing an experienced woman CEO would help the company change its culture and workplace environment? Explain your reasoning. This has been Introduction to Business, 2nd edition, from OpenStax. OpenStax textbooks and this free audiobook are covered under a Creative Commons license. The full text is available at www.openstax.org. You can find this free audiobook anywhere you listen to podcasts, including Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. Instructors can even download a course shell to easily embed these recordings in Canvas courses. Learn more by visiting www.openaudio.us. Did you find this audiobook helpful? If so, please let us know by leaving a comment and sharing this recording with a colleague or a friend.